Quick update. Each and every case has a different scheme for attaching hard drives to the case. This case, you just have some special screws you put inside the hard drive. You slide them in the bay and they snap in place. Real simple to do. The DVD drives, they have 4 screws on each side. Slide it in the bay, you put the 4 screws in, you're done. I'm going to skip over videotaping that part. I personally would find it boring to watch. Just want to let you guys know that each case is different here, so you're going to have to read the manual on the case on how to put the drives in the case. Okay, I'm back. I have the drives installed in the case. We can see in the front I have both the DVD and the Blu-ray drive on the front of the case. Looking inside the case, we have both hard drives installed. The hard drives, they were a little fun to install, mainly because there's 6 screws on them, and I was unaware that the case would only allow you to put 5 screws in the hard drives. It had a stopper on one side, so I kept sliding it in and it'd stop, not fully engaged, and I would look at it and go, what the heck? But hey, I got that fixed, it's in. Next step is to get the motherboard installed. Once the motherboard is installed, I have to run cables, put the video card in, then I can button her up and install my OS. Okay? I'll be back in a second with the motherboard and show you how to place her in the case. I'm about to put the motherboard in the case. There's only 2 tricky spots to worry about. First is, there are many holes in the case. Now, not all of those holes are going to line up with holes in the motherboard. You only want to put these little brass riser screws in the holes that correspond with holes in the motherboard. If you put some extras in there, you might end up shorting out the motherboard. That would not be good. Okay? The second tricky spot is the back panel, this spot right here. You want to make sure that the ports on the motherboard align with the holes on the back panel. The back panel is going to push on the motherboard somewhat. That's to lock this back panel in place. Okay? Make sure you have your alignment correct. Then start putting the screws in the motherboard. Once that's done, this should be fine. I'm going to go ahead and start putting the motherboard in. Also got to make sure all your cables stay clear. But that's not too bad when you have them laying off the side of the case. So here's the motherboard. Sliding her down in the case. Okay. And she is aligned. The holes line up. So all I have to do is screw them in now. Alright, there we go. Motherboard is fastened down. Next up, I'm going to put some power connectors to her. She has 2 spots for power. Once I have the power connectors in there, I'm going to start wiring in the SATA cables. And once we're done with that, video card is all that's left. So let's start with the power connectors. Here's the big one. Again, these things tend to go only one way. There's a clip on the top of this. There's a ridge on the socket for the clip, so you know which way this thing goes. And there, I've got the big power connector installed. That was easy. There's a secondary power connector for it, and I just have to look through this cable mess to find that secondary power connector. And have to be careful. It's probably going to be, it's not that one. Not that one. It's labeled PCIe. Not that one. Although I would expect it to be that one. These are labeled PCIe. Ah, there it is. Here's the other power connector. Now this one's going to be hard for cable management, mainly because it's running in a bad location to me. I've got its clip right here, reaching down in there. I I see which way it clips in. Plugging her in. Cooling fan's in the way. And I completely forgot to do something. I gotta pull the motherboard. Okay, back. I realized I had not connected the case fan, the CPU cooler, to the motherboard. So I went into mad panic for a second and then found out that that was kind of pointless. The thing's going to be pretty easy to get in there. Some finagling. I was about to pull the motherboard to do this. Turns out I don't have to. Maybe I do. Because this thing doesn't seem to want to align right. There it goes. CPU fan is installed. Okay, now last power connector. Getting that installed. Okay, all the power cords are connected to the motherboard. I lied. I disconnected that one a second ago. All the power connectors are connected to the motherboard. I need to get the SATA cables, get them connected in, power to the drives. We'll be good to go. So, be back in a bit.